Hello, welcome to Actual Play, while we're playing Improv for Gamers. Thank you all for joining us here. This is the first time we have streamed Improv for Gamers. This is the first time I've used OBS in about a year or two, and this is the first time we used Video Ninja. So there's lots of firsts here, and we're just going to see how it all works and have fun with it. We're definitely not aiming to have a super polished version tonight. This is going to be you getting to join us as we experiment and play with the platform and see how it works for us. I'm Sean. I use he/him pronouns, and I'm super excited to play some improv games tonight. As usual, all of the proceeds from the channel are split between Black Lives Matter and the Trans Legal Defense and Education Fund. So if you click all the subscribe buttons and those things, it'll go there. So thank you. Next up, how about Chris? Will you tell us a little about yourself?
Okay. Hi everyone. Hi everyone for the chat. I'm trying to access Twitch to talk to the people in the chat, but okay. I'm Chris. I am a graphic designer here from Brazil. So I have done the graphic design and layouting of Improve for Gamers. So I'm really proud to be here with these amazing people that I'm a fan of, all of them. And I am very nervous. So please, if I talk too fast or if you don't understand something that I said, please, you can ask to repeat. It's okay for me. I will not get so upset or anything else. And and let's see what we will do. I never have done any exercises for improve, but I really love to play the RP parts of RPGs. So I think I have done lots of improvs in my life, but playing, right? We don't realize it that we are making improvisations when we are playing, right? So I am very excited. And Sophie, can you?
Hi, I'm Sophie. I use she, her pronouns, and it's going to be the first time I do improv online ever, unless you count, formal improv. um, but I have taken some of Karen's classes for workshops for gamers at conventions in the past, and I had a blast. If we do things in person and you have a chance, I encourage you to take her workshops. They're great fun. I love improv. I haven't followed the scene recently, but way back in the 20th century when I started gaming, that was one of the things that attracted me. I had season tickets for theater, and I followed the in Quebec, because I'm Canadian. If you can't hear it, uh, the National Improv League, which is structured based on hockey rules. So that's a whole different thing. Good times. So I'm delighted to close the circle and come back to bring some techniques into improving my gaming. And now I'm going to pass the speaking stick to Karen, who is the
Hello.
improv.
Hi, I'm Karen. My pronouns are she, her. I'm hiding from the sun, so if I'm like leaning way over, I tried to tape up my window, but the sun is sneaky. Yeah, so I'm very excited to be trying out Improv for Gamers on Roll20 with the three people that made it possible, because Sean and Sophie have been working so hard in making Roll20 modules. Just I'm not familiar with the workings of Roll20. I tend to rely on other people to take care of all of that when we use it. And Chris, of course, has made so many amazing graphics and done just like such good design this whole way through. And so I am so excited of something that just like looks so amazing. So what we're going to do today is this is kind of the first time that we're interacting with it. So we're just kind of kicking the tires here. And showing you what some of the features are and trying them out ourselves. And so we're just going to have some fun and try it out. And if people have any questions, about anything, but also just like about the Roll20 app, like please let us know, because we're kind of just all figuring this out too. Well, I should say I am, because like Sean and Sophie know how all of this works because they've put it together.
No. It's very fair. We're all just
absolutely seamless directors. Yes.
It'll be super smooth. So I'm gonna actually give us two different views. The first one is the full behind the scenes view, where or not behind the scenes view, but this is like the full screen view where we'll actually show you everything that's in Roll20 and how we're doing it all. And then I also have this, because Chris made these beautiful, amazing overlays. I also have this nicer version where I've sort of cropped everything out. And so you get to see a little bit more of us as the players and just the game itself. So we'll start in the sort of zoomed out look, and so you can see what we're doing as we sort of set up for the game. So the first thing that we all did is we all went into the page toolbar. We went to the tokens tab. We pulled up all of the various tokens. We each copied one and pasted it into the exercises tab, which is where we're going to be playing all the games. So you can see each of us have our own tokens here, and that way we can identify who's who and what order things are in right now. And hopefully you can read that. I know Roll20 text is a little tiny, but it is Sean, Karen, Chris, Sophie right now. That's the current order. And when we want to switch between games, we go into the map and background layer, and we actually, I'll do that when we switch games. Why don't we play a game rather than me talking about playing games? Let's try that out.
Sure.
Karen, do you want to start us off with three things?
Yeah, Three Things is my favorite warm-up game. And back in, I think it was 2019, I was demoing Improv for Gamers at Origins for hours at a time, playing Three Things. It was amazing, but my brain was so fried after like hours of it. But it is my favorite game for a couple of reasons, because I think it does a great job of introducing a lot of the core ideas of improv. And when I'm talking about Improv for Gamers, like, what is my perspective of that? Because I think improv means a lot of different things in gaming. So hopefully this kind of helps us get on the same page of like, what am I talking about with improv? Because I think it's something that everybody can use and benefit from. It's not just like a GM thing or just a player thing. It's an everybody thing. Oh, somebody in the chat saying the video is frozen.
Yeah, thank you for letting us know, Blake.
Sean is on it.
Yeah, I am on it in so much as I'm going to look at our bit rate and see if I can improve it, or see if I could shut down some apps so that my computer doesn't overheat so much.
Fantastic.
But it's probably not you. It's probably us. So that's okay, though. Even without video,
hopefully it didn't freeze on me making
video, yes, hopefully I'm sure we all look but I will.
Okay, well,
I think it's probably a frame rate issue.
While you perfectly with 100% poise and grace scramble around in the background to try to figure out what's going on, Chris and Sophie and I will play Three Things. So Three Things is a really basic game. It's a category game. I actually, when I used to teach English as a second language, I would play a version of this game with my students to practice vocabulary. The premise of it is pretty easy. But as I said, I think you can unpack and like tease a lot from it about like some of the basic rules of improv. So the way it works is I'll start with Sophie. I'm going to give you a category, and I'm going to intentionally keep it really vague. And I'll talk about why after. And I'm going to ask you to name three things in that category just as fast as you can, whatever comes to mind. So let's do that step first, and then I'll tell you what we do after that. So Sophie, what are three things that are green?
Peas, giant, and broccoli.
Fantastic. So Sophie did the thing and crushed it. So we're all going to celebrate that Sophie did the thing by shouting 3 things. So I like kind of, pounding my fists a little bit too. So if we all want to do that it doesn't have to be synchronized because we're online, so don't worry about it. But we're all
impossible.
3 things.
3 things.
Okay, so Sophie, you're going to give Chris a new category.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Plants.
Plants, cactus, succulents, and peperonias.
Correct. Yes, 3 things.
3 things.
So Chris, why don't you pass it back to me?
Foods.
Foods, 3 foods. Burritos, tacos, and horchata. I'm kind of in a Mexican.
Yes, I feel it.
3 things.
Yes.
You can tell I'm craving right now. That's what's on my mind. Fantastic. Let's go around one more time.
You didn't ask Sean. Sean didn't get the.
Oh yeah, I was letting Sean step out to do stuff on the AV side.
Oh, right.
Let's go around again.
Well,
And
it's
Sean.
I did the thing, so if you wanna, I can join in. I've done the tech thing. I hope works.
Hopefully it did. If not, this will be an
I am
audio
checking the live
and
and it's
interface, which I am excited for.
It is frozen. But it changed a little bit. Now the cameras, we are in another overlay. It's not the same one that was before. Something happened, but it's not fully working.
Well, I've lowered the bitrate substantially, so it may fix itself in a moment. It may catch up. It might take a minute for it to catch up. But,
this may be something that comes out as a very well polished and edited YouTube video.
Yes.
Could be.
5 minutes.
Well, let's play one more time. And we'll include Sean this time. So, Sean, what are 3 things that are really tall?
Trees, big houses, and giants.
3 things.
3
things. All right, Chris, what are 3 things that are small?
Small. Cats, pens, and mugs.
3 things.
3 things.
3 things.
Then you.
Let me see. 3 things you use in your work.
Is that for me?
Yes.
Okay. Computer, notepad, and pen.
3 things.
3 things.
Karen.
Yeah.
Things that jiggle.
Things that jiggle. Jello. Not my money. And cellulite. 3 things.
3 things.
Anyway. So that's 3 things the game. So I wanted to actually look at the Roll20 module because this is an example of when you just kind of have a nice playmat as a reference. So we always have the bulleted instructions here. And that's kind of what we went through. And if you want, you can use the little avatars, I guess is what we call them. I don't know what the technical term is.
Tokens.
Yeah, tokens. Thank you. Use the tokens.
I call it token. I mean, Roll20 calls it tokens.
Then that's what they are. You can use the tokens if you want, to kind of arrange yourselves in a circle and use that for the direction of play. You don't have to, though. It can just kind of go in any order. So we've certainly made, some versions of the exercises that just have the instructions there, but there's not a ton that you're really required to interact with on the page. But I wanted to break down 3 things a little bit because I can't do improv for gamers without becoming a teacher. And I did want to talk about why it's one of my favorite exercises for kind of introducing improv. So I'll ask a question that I often ask, which is, well, first of all, we did great. And if it were a competition that we could have won, we would have totally crushed it. Of course, improv is not a competition, but if it were. So let me ask you this: like, how did we know we were winning? What are the parameters of success for a silly little game like Three Things?
Well, did we manage to each find 3 things to say?
Yeah, we did the thing. Perfect. So we showed up, we did the exercise. Fantastic. What else?
I think we pick things that we might not have thought were perfect, and we're happy with that. We're happy with like, oh, maybe horchata wasn't a food, but it's the thing that's on your mind, and that was like an okay, that was a good thing, a good choice. Like it didn't matter what we chose, we celebrate.
I think if you can digest it, it's food. That's the new rule. If it's digestible, guess what? It's a food. Yeah, so we did the thing, and we also didn't worry about being perfect. And improv is a great tool to use to practice that idea of like embracing the mess a little bit and not worrying so much about being perfect with everything that you're saying. Obviously, when you're telling a story, you might get caught up in like, well, what's the most interesting choice? And we often talk about that. We say, like, if you're given 2 choices, go with the most interesting one. But if you don't know, if nothing is jumping out at you and you're not like moved, it doesn't matter. So the stakes could not be lower in this game. It wasn't actually required for us to list anything that fell into that category. That's like the secret rule, because we were just going to yell 3 things at the end anyways. So another really important part about this game is that you always encourage your scene partners no matter what. Like, we're always there for each other. So the cheering and the being excited and listening is another very important part of improv, because it's not a one-person sport. It's a team sport. So we want to think about, being there for our partners, being excited for them. The reason that I say to use a very general category is because we're not trying to make this hard. I'm not trying to stump you in this game, because that's not the purpose of it. So I like this game, again, because I think you can unpack a lot of things about good gameplay. And it's just kind of a fun and easy one to start with. And ideally, you would play it, a couple of times until you're really comfortable and loose. We're all amazing gamers and improvisers, so we're just gonna keep moving on. You buy my book, you could be a pro like us.
You can roll this even when all your technology is conspiring against you.
Yeah.
Still do
improv. We should drop some links or something to how we can, because you can still do a pre-order, or what they're calling it on GameFound is a late pledge, which means if you missed out on the crowdfunding, you can actually still get all the pretty add-ons until we decide not to offer them anymore, I guess.
Until we go into sales mode, in which case they're going to just be regular sales, and we'll only have the book and the digital versions.
Yeah, but there's some pretty cool stuff. So
I put the chat in. Chris also put a QR code on the screen because she's just that extra and amazing. So there's a QR code there too. You could snap if you wanted.
I want to say that if you have Chris on your project,
it'll be 10 times better.
It will look better than you ever thought possible. But don't, because I only want her to work for me. But also, amazing. Chris has been so cool and thought of so many fun stuff that we wouldn't have thought of. So it's been really fun. Anyway,
indeed,
much appreciated.
Blake asked a question in chat.
Yes.
Blake said, "So it's like lateral thinking exercises that take your mind off work, etc."
Yeah. 3 Things is a brainstorming game. And you can play it. It's one of those games that, because I really like the way that improv works, not just in gaming, not just for the theater, but in real life. This is a game that you could play at work if you wanted to, as a brainstorming technique. It's just a way to start doing idea generation.
Yes. And I think it's a nice icebreaker. Like, we are all a little bit anxious because we don't know what is going to happen. So it's easy and fun, and then now I'm a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah. And like the categories can be anything. What I do notice is that once you start asking people their opinions, it just like stops, which is just something that I've noticed over the years. If someone ever asks me like, what are your 3 favorite movies? Like, oh man, see, that matters because that's like my opinion and I have to rank this thing and that's going to reflect on how cool I am in terms of like my movie selection. And I get so hung up on that. It's not name any 3 movies. It's like your 3 favorite. There's something about that breaks it down. And I think it's a good game to kind of get away from that, of not placing so much judgment on your ideas. They're just ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's going to be happy no matter what. Another really cool kind of word association game that I want to try is Convergence. And Sean, if you want to show us how to get over to another exercise, because all of the book is in here.
Yeah. So
there's a lot.
Exactly. There's a lot. We're just showing you the exercises, but there's also the compendium that has the full rule set, the full book itself as well, which is also part of the module. But we're focusing on the pretty looking things, and also maybe I have to add the compendium to this game. But mostly, we just want to show off all the nice stuff. Yeah. So what I did is I changed the map and background layer, and then I'm right-clicking anywhere on the map, and I'm choosing multi-sided, and then choose side. And I get this cool little picker. It's a little hard to see because the default is small, so if you expand the size of the picker, boop-a-doop, come on. Expand it both ways for me, please, picker. Thank you. There we go. Then you can actually see the name because we made all of them very large. So, Karen, you want to do convergence?
Yeah.
Let me see how quickly I can find that. There it goes.
Cool.
And then when you choose it, voila, you now pull it up. And just because of how cool the graphic design and layout is, we're not going to stop talking about how gorgeous this is. We're all in these various spots, and they all have little grid snaps, so it's easy to just sort of pop your character in. So we even when in you can't tell in Zoom or anything else like what the turn order is or something like that. We have an order here, so we know player A, player B, etc.
Yeah. So it's super cool as you go over to different exercises. Your tokens carry over as well, and a lot. I think then from how it had been taught to me, or I think from how it had been actually in the first version, I revised it so it made a little bit more sense to play in any order. So we're going to go with the instructions as they're written on the Roll20, which is it's very kind of random. So we don't actually need a set order for this. Convergence is a word association game, and we need a countdown clock.
Oh yes, you'd like a countdown clock? We just so happen to have one that we've built into Roll20. What? Okay, let me grab this countdown clock. All right, this is I didn't mean for this to be like a Roll20 advertisement, but also I don't know how to not do that. So
I mean, but that's
okay. So this clock,
yeah.
Well, the way it works is Roll20 brings in new features, and we pounce on them and come up with new things to do with them. So they made animated GIFs usable, and they even offered tools to control how often they loop or how. And so we grabbed that, and I think it was Sean who thought of making it as a countdown token.
Mm-hmm. So a countdown token would work well on a stream because it is a way to synchronize people. It might not sound like you're saying something in sync to you, but if both of you are looking at the same countdown clock, I believe the idea is that on the stream, it'll look like you said something at the same time.
That's the hope. Absolutely.
That's kind of how that works. When I've been teaching in improv online off and on since March of 2020, and we would still kind of have another person count down, and then 2 people would say something at the same time. And so if I was counting down, I heard 2 other people say it, they would say it at the same time. But if I was the person saying it, there's that 1 second lag. So this is kind of a way to help clean it up a little bit on a stream. And it's a fun little graphic. So the way this works.
The way it works is anybody.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say the way not the game works, but the way the button works is that anybody can sort of highlight it, hit the little play, and then it does this 1, 2, 3, and then when we say it, we'll say the word. So that's the way that button will work, which I say for people watching the stream, but also for us, so we know how we can actually do it.
Yeah. Can you?
Sorry, go ahead on that.
I can see it before we use it.
Yeah, are you not seeing it? And I'm going to do it right now. I just clicked it.
Oh, there it goes. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Fun. Cool. So the way this works, well, Sean, why don't we do this together? Are you okay playing it and doing the countdown clock?
I can do that. Sure. Yeah.
As with many things in Roll20, it's often ideal to have somebody behind the scene doing all of this. We all have GM controls on this, but Sean said very clearly that none of us should touch it.
And that's really only because we're on stream. If we were not on the stream, anybody could do it. But because it's my screen that's being captured, I want everyone to see how it's done. So it's not really like that they can't do it. It's just that I want everyone watching to be able to see how it goes.
Yeah. So Sean, you and I are each going to think of a random word, and then we're going to start the countdown clock, and we'll say whatever word we're thinking at the same time.
All right. Sounds good. Here
so
we go.
Take a second to think.
I'm ready.
Oh,
sorry. I started too soon. All right. I'm going to start it over. Well, I jumped the gun. I started it. I have a word.
I have
a
word.
word?
Cool.
I'll start the clock, and then when it says say it, we'll say it. All right. Wait. Now I'm doing it because it was in the midway. Cucumber.
All right. So now we do the thing that you have to do in person as well. Is we both said the word at the same time, but now we have to say it again so that we can actually hear it.
Yes.
So I said the word toaster. What did you say? Cucumber. Cool. So now any of us are going to think about what is the word that's between toaster and cucumber. Where do these 2 words converge, you might say, which is where I got, we got the name of it. So once anybody thinks of it, the way that we have the instructions written here is one person just says 1.
1.
Fantastic. And another person who has a word can say 2.
2.
Okay, cool. So we'll start the countdown clock. And then again, you will each say the word that you were thinking of that is somewhere between toaster and cucumber. Yes.
All right, here it goes.
Sandwich.
All right, I heard sandwich, and what was the other one?
Salad.
Salad. Sandwich and salad. Ooh, we're getting close to something. All right, so again, anybody who thinks that they can think of the word, we're just going to keep going. Now, again, there's no way to win an improv, but there might actually be a way to win this game. But I try not to tell people to worry too much about that, because then it's not fun if you don't win. But anyways, we're going to keep playing and see what happens. So what is the word where salad and sandwich converge? So if someone thinks they have it, the first person is 1.
1.
Okay, Sean's 1.
2. Sorry.
Okay, 2. So Sean and Sophie are going to count down.
Okay, I'm going to start it.
Lunch.
Good lunch and lettuce.
This is better. Yes.
So I will say, now that we're going a couple of times, you can add the restriction of don't say a word that you've already said before. Again, if you did say a word that had already been said before, it doesn't matter. But that kind of keeps you thinking a little bit more. So we are at, what were the words? Lunch and lettuce? Okay.
Lunch and lettuce, yeah.
1. Sorry, I take too much space.
No.
No, you don't at all. No, I am concerned because I'm not hearing Chris.
Oh
but
my
I'm
God.
seeing you, Chris.
I can hear Chris.
And it
I hear
seems like
Chris.
maybe you can hear Chris. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on, but I think Stream also hears Chris. So I will just have to. I'll figure it out. I'll just deal with that. All right.
We're just
Okay.
figuring it out. That's what
If you want me to log out,
Yeah, it's Video Ninja is just
yeah.
doing weird things. to
Learning
me.
points as a new
but-
technology for us.
No, that's fine now. So Sophie said one.
No one
Someone
said
say
two
two.
yet.
it has to be between which words again?
Two.
Lettuce and
Lunch
lime.
Yes.
Okay.
Sean, did you have one?
Yeah.
Okay.
go on.
All right. So Sophie and Sean, you guys can count down.
All right. Yep. Here it goes.
Vegetarian.
Food.
Food and vegetarian.
Kind of opposite. I'm a bad person.
All right. So we had food and vegetarian. So let's play this one more time. So if we can think about where does food and vegetarian converge? I will say 1.
Two.
Okay. Sean, can you do the countdown?
All right. I'm gonna start it up.
Diet.
Tofu.
Ooh. I said diet, thinking like meal plan.
Oh, and tofu.
So we could keep playing this game forever. There is a certain point where you might get fatigued, and that should also be when you stop. Another time when you can stop is when you each perhaps say the same word, which it doesn't always happen. Sometimes it does, and it's really fun when it does. But I do encourage people, and as we kind of say in like in the tips in the book, if you don't get to that point, don't worry about it. Like, you shouldn't play a game to the point where it's not fun anymore.
Eliminated from the competition.
No, there's no elimination. Yeah, but so that's Convergence. Again, it's another kind of fun warm-up game. It's designed to be played pretty fast if you can. So you don't want to be like pondering too much. You just kind of go with the word that comes to mind. But as we're kind of still playing with the interface here a little bit, I didn't want to keep playing it, but just showing it off. So we have a fun little countdown clock for that. I think it's pretty nifty.
Yeah. I think it worked out reasonably well considering stream. We have not just lost Chris; she is just rejoining, so that hopefully I will be able to hear her. So don't worry about her disappearance.
Yeah. So
yeah, what game do you want to do next?
I wanted to try one that wasn't really designed to be done online, because this is, the reality of improv is, it's normally something that we always think about as being done face to face, these types of exercises, because these are the things that we as improvisers, for performers, this is what we do when we, like, our troupe meets. We do these types of warm-up games, but we also do more slightly complicated skill-based games. And like the book has games that are very, very warm-up-y, like those two. And there's a lot of others that are a little bit more intense or really focusing on something more specific, including a lot about finding character. But still, there's a lot of exercises that don't necessarily translate to being online in a way that's very obvious. And so I wanted to play one and just kind of workshop like a couple of ways that you could approach these types of games. Because again, we included everything in Roll20, but there's also a lot of information in the book kind of encouraging you and giving everybody permission to hack these games to however works. And I think online is going to be one of the ways where we're going to see like the most innovation in people changing up these games so they can get kind of what they're looking for out of them. So yeah, do you want to bring us to lead with your body? Because I think this is a good exercise to talk about a couple different things. Sean's going to bring it over there.
All right.
Because the other thing to think about when you're doing
I'm bringing it up. All right.
is how physical is it? And this is a game that was designed to have a lot of physicality. So I also want to show how we can modify that. Okay, cool. Oh, I gotta move my little token. Can get rid of think about a word. And this says tables. You have so many cool tables that you can like roll on if you want suggestions. I love the tables.
Are we chasing our tokens around? There we go. Now we're
annoying.
Now we have the cardinal points.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Perfect.
I don't know if you had the same feeling, Chris. My inner obsessive compulsive was trying to spread them around the
Yes. Yes, me too.
Oh, and I clumped them all up. Oh no, I'm sorry. There we go.
That's okay. Sorry, I keep leaning because the sun is doing this thing.
I know I had to pull
Hopefully I'm not like too out of frame. Okay, so yeah, so let's look at the instructions here and we can see what we're working with. And then this is something that we can all kind of play around with to find how it works for us, both with like how we're feeling in this moment and the medium that we're using, which is online. So this is an exercise that's designed to find a physicality for your character, or start with the physicality and find your character that way. So the way that you would play this in person is everyone kind of moves around the space, just very casually at their own pace, and a facilitator who can either participate or they can be off to the side will call out a body part from this list. I think actually I feel so bad. I'm gonna have to suggest a change for this later, but that's okay. So there's there's two different lists here. There's one for, what was that?
Saying that's fine. This can also be QA testing.
Yeah. So there's one that's just from the waist up, and then there's one from the whole body. And there's just some different ideas of things that you could do for movements there. So the way that it would work is one person would kind of call out a body part like elbows. And now everybody starts moving, accentuating that part of their body. So you would imagine now everyone's moving around the space and kind of like really accentuating their elbows. And then kind of as you do that and you move around, and it's going to feel super silly. And that is part of the thing. You know, you are going to feel really silly. But if everyone in the room is also moving around, making weird movements with their elbows, then it's not weird, right? Because we're all doing it. So you kind of start moving around and think about like, who is my character? Can you find something with this weird thing? If it's here at an 11, can you bring it down to like a 2? And maybe you just find a character that does this a lot, you know? And like, what does that give you? It's in terms of like their personality. So this is kind of a very advanced character exercise. And you try it with different body parts and find different characters and play around with it. You know, there's a lot that you can do to then use this as a jumping off point for something else. But we are in our chairs and we are online. So sometimes the way that I have facilitated this is just tell everybody, you know, to back away, you know, and get up and move around. And if your camera doesn't catch you, that is fine. But we've played this game where people are, you know, just moving around the whole space because they have it. I'm in my pajamas. They're moving around the whole space. And taking that whole space and doing the exercise as you would in person, but, you know, alone in your room, which doesn't feel weird at all, by the way. But you can also play it just from the waist up. You know, if you wanted to stay seated for any reason, if you want to stay in frame or you just really don't feel like getting up and moving around, you know, that's not something that you're you're interested in doing at this moment. And again, this is an exercise that you need to think about modifying for accessibility for the needs of the people, in your group at that time. So again, we have options of things, ways to move from just the waist up or the whole body. How do you guys want to approach practicing this? We're going to do it. We're going to be silly. That is a promise and a threat.
I think it would work better from the waist up for me because I don't have enough space behind me to.
I have to plug my headphones as well.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like,
a little bit tough.
It doesn't always make sense. And again, like, unless we're LARPing, we're not necessarily going to be doing like a full body character anyways. So it's good to try to find a ways to get into character, just with what we've got here in frame. Yes. Because that's what people would be seeing when you're at a table anyways. So let's see. Let's just kind of play around with it. There's no timer for this one. It's a little bit more loosey-goosey, but I can act as the facilitator. So I think what we're going to do is it's going to be silent. It's going to feel a little weird, but that's okay. We're going to practice just kind of moving around in our chairs and seeing if we can find a character. And then what I want you to do once you think that you kind of got a character is I want you to settle in and maybe start asking yourself some questions about that person. What do you think are their likes and dislikes? How do you think they might, what their voice might sound like? You can use an exercise like this as a jumping off point to start developing a character in a lot of different ways. So why is this just the worst light? I'm gonna have to go. Oh, you're over here.
The sun is just out.
I'm over here now. Take that, sun. This room is not designed for streaming.
You can catch some sunglasses and stay in live with the sunglasses as well.
Yeah, it's very bright. Okay, so why don't we kind of think about our character?
I'm centering you in OBS.
He's cheating and centering you on OBS.
I think we're.
You're not very far.
You can be off kilter.
It's better than being. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing to think about when you're doing something on a stream and say you want to be playing improv on a stream like this. You don't necessarily want to be getting up and moving out of your frame. So let's think about a movement. We have all these lovely movements here. I want to think about wringing your hands. Let's all just kind of wring our hands, and kind of whatever that means to you. But I want you to just do this for a little while. Again, I know it feels super silly. Just bear with me. This is part of what taking a theater class entails. And I want you to see if, as you're wringing your hands, like, can you kind of find a character? Meaning, can you find a personality of like who would wring their hands? And can you get to a point where it starts to feel like a natural thing and not just a thing that you're doing on the internet on a stream because I told you to? And we're just going to do this in silence for a little bit because it's kind of an introspective, thinky exercise. Okay, so I'm going to pause. Again, that was super weird. Thank you for doing that. It's going to look great. It's going to look great on YouTube. This is going to be online forever. So what were some things that were coming up for you as you were doing that? What were maybe some character things that you were thinking about?
Can I start?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking like that some kind of villain, that I want to crush these heroes, but
Mhm.
I am almost there, and I will do this eventually.
Right. Yeah, so it was very villainous for you with
Yes.
the personality coming out. Cool. Sean and Sophie, what were things that were coming up for you?
For me, it was immediately.
I was
Oh,
Hmm?
sorry. I think I spoke over you.
you go. No.
As soon as you said wring your hands, it was someone who's supplicating. Maybe if it was a fantasy setting, uh, I had a merchant woman begging for her husband's life, uh, and so it wasn't just a ringing; it was a ringing in anguish to prevent yourself from, you know, moving in a more aggressive fashion, and
Mhm.
it had to be close to the body because you're restraining yourself, and that
Mhm.
also made me you get into the sadness that would go with a character like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, how about you?
I was probably begging to Chris's villain.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, my character was a tailor who it was less ringing and more massaging. I think it was an old tailor who had passed his prime and who had a lot of knowledge, but couldn't and it was hard to hold the needle. And so he had to, as he worked, he had to frequently like massage his hands to limber them up again so that he could do the work. And he was very afraid that there was going to be a time soon where he would not be able to practice his trade, and there was no safe for him. That's how he survived. So
Oh, that's
yeah, not maybe as bad off as Sophie's begging for mercy, but certainly not in a position of power.
Yeah.
Like
No, that's so
Chris.
cool. I was thinking of somebody who was very pensive. And so this was a thinking movement for me of kind of like trying to find my words. And so I was thinking about somebody who was very thoughtful, and maybe when they spoke, they would kind of accentuate things with their hands somehow. So yeah, so with the same movement, we all came up with 4 very different characters,
Yes.
which is amazing. I love
Yeah.
hearing things like this because I love how everybody's brain goes in different directions.
and it were relatively fleshed out for just a movement.
Yeah. So I will say, the instructions that we have on the Roll20 exercises, because it's not the whole book, just printed out there. All of the exercises in the book, and you'll see them in the PDF, have a little bit more explanation about like what is this exercise about, why are we doing it, and tips. So in the book itself, there's a little bit more explanation about like what do you think about afterwards in terms of your character. What are some things that came up for you? So while it's great to have the Roll20 visual aid there, it does help to kind of read the book first, or have somebody who kind of has those notes with them, so you can get that added explanation. Because again, this is just has the bullet points, so you can remember like what are the main things that we're supposed to do in this exercise.
Sean, you want to show the compendiums?
Karen, I'm gonna go. I was gonna say I'm gonna go ahead and add the compendium in, which I just forgot to do at the beginning of it. So Karen, if you want to lead another one of those, by the time we're done with
Yeah.
another movement, I should be able to show the compendium where you can see the full text, or I can just vamp for the next.
I can vamp because there's actually a great
30 seconds.
great
Why don't you
question
lead
in
another
chat.
one?
There's
Yeah.
a great question in chat, which is, are there tips in the book to get people on board who don't want to look silly? And I cannot remember, the author of the book, me, cannot remember exactly where I put that. Though I hope that it is in there throughout, that sometimes you are going to feel silly. And I just encourage people, as I did here, of that's going to happen and we're just going to do it. It helps to do more warm-up exercises before you go in. I wouldn't start with lead with your body.
Mm-hmm.
We're jumping around and showing a couple different things, but this is definitely an exercise that you should do when people are maybe a little warmer. But exercises that are good right off the start to practice kind of being a little silly would be sound ball or pass the movement, which are both ones where you're making silly noises and you're doing big funny gestures. And that's it. That's the exercise. And so that gets everybody on board of we all just did something kind of silly together and we were all very encouraging and positive about it. And so that helps really establish this is a good place for us to try new things. We're in a learning space, not a performing space. Because the other thing that I definitely try to encourage and remind people of is when you're doing improv for gamers, when you're doing these exercises, it's not about performing. It's not about being funny. Like don't try to be funny. You will be funny without trying. If you try, it's not funny. But it's not about performing. It's about just trying these skill-based exercises and then talking about them. So there are some tips in the beginning of the book about kind of, as a facilitator, what are some things that you want to ask people to kind of keep in mind. We have a couple of things on like how to play nice. But there's also just a lot of reminders throughout a lot of the exercises of it's okay to be silly. And if people don't want to look silly, I totally get it. But you would be surprised what you can get people to do once they're warmed up. I have worked with people, and even after like maybe an hour, and it's been an hour here, but an hour of playing games, I've gotten everybody to sing a song at the end. And I'll sing at the end too. Like, you can get people there. They just have to be like kind of go through it and get the sillies out and just be comfortable. But you can get them there. Cool. Sean, have I vamped enough? Do you want me to
Yes, you have vamped enough. Thank you very much. No. I mean, obviously, yes, please do keep talking. But I just want to know that for each exercise, so the compendium, which you probably can't make out very well on the screen just because in stream get blurred out very well. You can see our cursor here. Every single exercise is linked right from the top table of contents, so it's easy to jump to exercise. And this has a lot to it. So you can see the lead with your body does have that table, that we just sort of looked at, but it also has tips, explanations, and it's got the whole the fullness of it, which we've just abbreviated here on the page. We wanted to give you just the bullet points here, but the full exercise and all the additional insights when playing it are in the compendium. So it's all there.
Yeah, thanks.
And I don't think you can see that card because I didn't throw it up on your page. But right now on stream, I'm showing everybody the compendium.
Yeah, if you reload your, you will see it in your tabs. It's got an I for the compendium tab, and you can go and browse your own words, Karen.
Oh no, I try not to do that. It was so hard for me to write the second edition because it meant going back and reading the first edition again. I was like, what if it's awful?
But it wasn't.
It really, like, honestly, one of the reasons why it just took so long was because I just put off reading it. I was like, I have all these new exercises. I've written all this new stuff. We have all these other people writing stuff. So like there's, 50% more content. And I just kept putting off, the old stuff and revising it. But yeah, the book, people aren't as familiar with like, why is this a second edition? The first edition came out in 2018. It's right here. I just happen to have it. I just like the cover of this one. I like the cover of the other one too. But there were things that I wanted to change, kind of as soon as it came out. I was like, I should have done some stuff differently. So I did. And I added a lot of new exercises, and we have so many other contributors of people who submitted exercises that they like to use in their workshops. They're also improvisers. People are, there's also kind of like some think pieces, and just also a lot of kind of short little blurbs of people saying like, what is one takeaway from improv that they've really seen apply in their gaming. So there's a lot of advice from other contributors in there too. It's really fun to flip through and see all the fun names of people who are sharing their knowledge. Yeah, so I think there was one more that we were thinking about doing, but we are, about an hour in. So Sean, I'm not sure if you wanted to keep the stream going, if we wanted to try something with a deck of cards, or we just wanted to show it off maybe. Because another thing.
Yeah, well, let's show it off. Maybe we'll play it.
Yeah,
but
let's show off the cards. Because in the first edition, we just had some lists of suggestions in the back of like locations and relationships, and we really revamped those. One, of making them like 5 times longer. There's so many more suggestion words. Split across like 8 different categories, and then of course put into in the book in gorgeous layout of tables and print on demand cards. So if you want to randomize it that way, you can roll on the table, or you can have a deck of cards and shuffle those and pull something out. And so there's lots of different types of suggestions. And throughout the exercise, we let you know like which decks you could use if you want. But they're also just really fun for ideas.
Yeah. So this is an example of a point of view card.
Mm-hmm.
These decks are set to be sort of accessible to everyone, players and GMs, so it's really easy to grab it. So you could deal these cards in people's hands and they could look at them. You could drag them on the table, but often some of the exercises will ask you, to give everybody a point of view, or to give everybody a location, or set a scene in a location.
Backstory scenes uses them, which is in the scene work chapter. Actually, if we want to pull that one up, because that uses point of view cards. So point of view is the word that we're using instead of like background or character, and it encompasses a couple different things, but it's basically an opinion, it could be an opinion, or it could be a fact, and we lumped those together. So there's different types of point of view.
What's the name of the game again, Karen?
I believe it's called Backstory Scenes.
And it's going to be towards the end if it's in scenes.
Yeah, it's in scene work, so it's in the last chapter. Because the book kind of...
Yeah, there's just so many games in this amazing
collection. There's a lot.
That I am...
54.
Yeah, there's a lot, and they're
54
kind of by category.
Yeah.
And the scene work ones see it. Because those are kind of the more advanced ones.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it, but that may be just because I'm not clicking granularly enough.
It should be the third from the end, I think.
Third from the end. Okay. Backstory scenes. There it was. I just missed it. Okay, cool.
Classic.
Here we go.
I looked them up in the index of the compendium.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it easier to find them. Or you can look at the list of the rollable table. They're all named in the items in the table as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's yes, right there. Backstory scenes. I could have just used our own tool to find right there. But yes, thank you. There it is.
So the way that this would work is the facilitator kind of gives everybody a fact about their character. And we offer these cards if you don't want to come up with your own, but you can also just write things on a piece of paper. That's totally fine. Or you could just whisper it to the person. Sometimes writing it down is a little bit easier in case you immediately forget it. And the idea is that then each player uses this fact about them to help influence the decisions that they make in the scene. And so this is, because it's at the end of the book, in the scene work chapter, this is when you're actually doing some kind of in-character performance and having in-character conversations. And you can use these point of view cards to help just give you a jumping off point. So Sean, you had popped one up that said, I used to be a prize fighter. So that is a fact. We have point of views that are either facts or feelings, I believe. And then we have ones that
Yeah.
are clean, and then we have ones that are out of the ordinary. Because why? I just went on. I went deep into subcategories in this. It was very fun.
Yeah, if you look in the book itself, you can actually see them on cards too. The book sort of breaks them down by those subcategories of different things. Now, of course, Roll20 is just being fussy with me. I tried dealing everybody a card.
Yeah, I saw that.
There they are.
And now, so you should all have one in your deck.
Okay.
I am normally you can double click on a card and it like pops it in front of everybody, but my machine is just having a time. So what you can't really read at all on stream, but what mine says is I'm afraid of my own shadow.
Yeah. So I saw mine. It says I believe in fairies, because I could click on it and see it. So
Oh, and I think you didn't shuffle.
that's okay.
What's that? Oh, there we go. Think it finally popped up after me clicking it probably 50 times.
I think my house is haunted.
Yeah, that's a good one. That
What
one
do
we
you
got
get,
art
Chris?
for. I really like the art on that.
I'm losing you guys a little bit, but my card says that I do bad things for good reasons. Maybe it's the theme today. I'm a villain, guys. Okay?
Yep,
Yeah,
I feel like you've got
gotta go.
villain vibes.
Yes.
You provide leverage.
So you can deal out the cards. You can, as a facilitator, look at them and like whisper them to people. There's lots of different ways that you can give people that information on Roll20. Again, we want to leave it really open for people to use it in kind of the way that works best for them, because different people, like different features of the interface. But we have all of these cards here if you want to use cards. And then what we would do is, have a conversation and have that fact about ourselves. And you can totally put them all out at front and let everybody know, or you can, keep it a secret and then just reveal it at the end. Those are two ways that you can play this game. So I don't think that we'll run through it, but I did just want to show off the cards. So we have the point of view cards.
Yeah, super cool.
We have relationship cards and we have location cards. And again, those are split into lots of different categories. And we encourage you in different exercises that you can use different cards for different things as needed to get suggestions.
Yeah, and Roll20 does a cool thing, which is that it always separates out cards from different decks. So if you have like a relationship and a point of view, they'll always be separated. It's just a neat feature of it. I have vampire roommates for 300 years, or my relationship is vampire roommates for 300 years.
Nice.
And which really justifies being afraid of my own shadow, I have to say, honestly.
My relationship is inventor and neighbor kid, which is funny since I just saw Back to the Future on Saturday.
Yes. I wonder where
that one came from. My favorite movie. The other thing that you can do with those relationship cards is if you need a suggestion of a singular character, you can just pick one half of a relationship card. So a lot of them are person and person, but some of them, as you saw, Sean, are two types of the same people. So you could just say vampire, or you could say inventor, or neighbor kid, etc. Who has brunch buddies?
That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I want to leave us with this best of all relationships here, if I can ever expand it.
No, I'm thinking Grace and Frankie think their beach house is haunted.
Ha! Nice.
Love it.
So the suggestions are just there to use in lots of different ways. When you get into more of the scene worky exercises, you can use them to give people a jumping off point. And they're very modular. And again, there's different types. So like the relationships are categorized into relationships that you would see at work, relationships that you would see at home, and then relationships at play. So brunch buddies is a play relationship. And there's an exercise called work, home, play, where you explore how, and it's in the status, I believe. In the status chapter, because it explores how somebody's status and kind of, like the power they have and maybe how they carry themselves and the influence that they have over other people. All of that goes into the term status. Your status might change depending on the relationship. So somebody who might be, maybe kind of timid at work, might be the loudest person at brunch. And that allows us to kind of play with the character and find a lot of different facets to them.
It is, in fact, the last in the relationships chapter, bridging over to the next chapter, which is status. So
you're right.
It really does belong to in between.
Perfect place for it.
Thank you for correcting me. Yeah, it was hard to figure out where some of these exercises should go because they all practice a lot of different things.
Yes.
But again, we have lots of different chapters for different types of exercises, and they all start with kind of the easier ones, and then by the end of the chapter you're getting to some kind of more advanced stuff. But I think that was a tour of some of the fun stuff that's on Roll20.
I just wanted to say I'll take the role of a satisfied customer because I am, and I was glad to have a chance to help bring it to Roll20. That was my limited role in this, but I'm much more a learner, and I have to say that those techniques are very useful. And once again, like Karen said at the beginning, you're learning skills, you're practicing skills, and practicing it makes them come more naturally. And they really, really help in playing and in game mastering.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fun.
I will say, I say this all the time, which is that improv is a muscle that you should constantly be working out and stretching. You can't just take one improv class and say, that's it, I'm perfect, I've achieved perfection, y'all, best role player ever, perfect at life and in love. No, you have to keep working at it. And so these exercises, if you wanted to put together like your own workshop with your friends, you're like, hey, instead of our regular session, let's spend an hour or two doing some kind of fun theater games. You could do that. You can also just put one of these at the front of your session if there's something that you think would be fun to play either as those particular characters or just to get you into a particular mood for the setting that you're playing. So you can really think about, how much improv do you want, and what do you want to use it for? And all of these exercises are ways to highlight different skills that are all useful in gaming. So
yeah, I really love the notion of people grabbing bits and pieces, and a lot. I know we heard some folks who were playing with first edition where they were playing these games in character. They were saying three things, but their characters were asking like, 3 foes you have fought, the dragon of Vorgamor, and like it just gets your gets your mind thinking, exploring the world that you're creating together. I think that's super fun, and the games, as you can see, they're all quick to play and they're all pretty simple and they're all very low stakes. So
yeah.
Well,
I want to thank the three of you for coming on the stream and for making this Roll20 module possible. I'm so excited of just having yet another way to try to get improv out there and playable for people. So I'm very excited that we were able to make this happen. Yeah, I'm not sure. Was there anything else that we wanted to highlight or talk about?
I think that's it. We might do one of these again. So if we do, there'll be more that we can go into. But there's a whole. I mean, we literally scratched the surface. We just we did a couple of exercises out of, as we said, 52 that are in there. The compendium has a lot in it. There's more decks of cards. There's more special tokens that do, it's more animated tokens. There's just a lot that we packed into it. It's a fantastic workbook. And not everything, as you can see, like not everything has a perfect match online, but we tried to think about like how we could interpret, how we could make the games work the best online. So we're excited to hear how people handle it. Yes, close out. I'm Sean. I use he, him pronouns. You can find me everywhere at Sean Nittner. And